we're really puzzled. Here at Gingrich Productions, we've spent weeks trying to figure out, what do you call this? Now, I know you probably think it's a cell phone. And if I say to audiences, how many of you have a cell phone that takes a picture, 97% of the hands go up. But think about it. If it's taking pictures, it's not a cell phone. If it has a McDonald's app to tell you where McDonald's is based on your GPS location, that's not a cell phone. If you can get Wikipedia or go to Google, that's not a cell phone. If you can watch YouTube, that's not a cell phone. Or Netflix. Think about it. This device is something new and different. I've been calling it a handheld computer. But I decided that really was misleading because, while it has the computing power of a 2003 laptop, its real power is not internal computation. Its real power is networking. It's connected to the entire world of information and the entire world of communications. Now, we've been here before. When we first developed the automobile, it was called the horseless carriage. And it took a little while to get a new word for it. There are times when you have these brand new breakthroughs and you don't quite know how to explain it. The reason this is important, and the reason I want your help in figuring out what to call this, is its real potential triggers a world of opportunity, of breakouts that are going to dramatically change how we operate, how we solve problems, how we work government. This can be, at one level, a great health device that allows you to constantly monitor yourself. At another level, it's a great learning device, replacing every textbook in the world. At yet another level, it can be a very productive device for getting work done wherever you happen to be, eliminating the concept of in the office, or certainly changing it dramatically. And of course, this is just a work in progress. This is this year. The first cell phone call was 1973. The first commercial cell phone was 1978. We have been accelerating ever since in the capability of a handheld device. So we'd love to have your ideas and your thoughts. Please leave a comment. What would you call this so that we could explain to people that they carry in their hand literally the potential to have a dramatic revolution in how we get things done.
Don't want to sound like a dick or nothing, but it says on your chart you fucked up.
And how we are
you talk like a fag, and your shit's all retarded.
Conversation about recentering American politics and government around the kind of breakthroughs that this makes possible. So we look forward to hearing from you.
Hey, Willie, come here. Listen to this.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to 3NN Podcast.
Now with more
I'm Nick Tesla.
Brian McFadden.
And we're here to, I don't know why I always say we're here to do something. I guess we're here, I always have to wrap it into, we're here to let you know that this is the official podcast of Open Minds. I guess we're also here
Everywhere.
to let you know that we tackle heavy topics and we always keep it light. So please join us on our journey.
We don't always keep it light, but we try to.
I always keep it light. I have to always keep it light. I know sometimes I'll go a little off track and get a little serious,
Oregon
too serious. But I try and keep it light. I try. I try and bring levity to every situation. A lot of people who might listen to this show might think that I don't take any of this seriously, or how serious do I really take it? Because I'm always too willing to crack a joke or laugh about something or just be stupid for a few minutes or a few seconds. But I I think that's needed in this world, especially when you see what's happening this summer. Something like that is needed, or people like myself, not trying to pat myself on the back, but people like myself are needed, somebody like Vermin Supreme, who can bring some levity to such serious topics and such serious ideas that people usually take so seriously. And if we can bring some levity to it, maybe we can start treating it in a different light and thinking of better solutions. Because when you think so seriously, sometimes you don't think of solutions as readily as you do when you're in a good mood. Or your solutions are much more negative of solutions when you're thinking so seriously about something so serious.
Why so serious?
Why so serious?
Really creepy saying that.
I'm going to look real creepy all day. I guess before we get into our main topic of the day, I just have a little caveat to begin the show with that is not related to our main topic of today, which is Bill Cooper, hero or hack. I think we've both of us have been under the belief for a very long time that Bill Cooper is a hero, and he should be remembered as such, and he's a legend. And I still somewhat believe that.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, Brian, Brian has a physical pain going on today, and Nick has a, what would you call it? An emotional pain going on today. So there's two different pains going on here today, and I wanted to know.
We're gonna try not to be pains in your ass.
Well, here's my question: a man who comes back from Iraq or Afghanistan and he's missing a leg, and he has nerve pain for the rest of his life because his leg was blown off and there was major nerve damage that was done, and he'll always have nerve pain, and he's always in a lot of pain, so he has to take a lot of painkillers, stuff like that. But if you had to do, like, I guess, a celebrity deathmatch type of thing with
what the hell?
That guy, okay, missing his leg and having pain, so he's always like, ah! He's like constantly feeling what it was like to lose his leg in an explosion.
Okay.
It's almost like the explosion pain never stopped. You compare him to the mother that lost their child to a drunk driver hitting their car, so they did nothing wrong and they were just driving their kid home from baseball practice or something. A drunk driver hit their car, the mother survives, but the child dies. And that emotional pain that mother is going through, because they're both serious pains, you know what I'm saying? Like losing a leg, you're no longer able to walk. I don't want to say you'll never walk again, but you'll never walk with both of your limbs intact again. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can walk with a prosthetic leg, but you'll never have your actual leg still there. And same with the mother. She can, like, probably have another child, or maybe does have another child, but that child will never be there again. So what pain, if you were a celebrity death match in these two, what pain, the mother that lost her child in a freak car accident due to a drunk
Why
driver.
would they then? Okay,
Because in both situations there's people to blame. But
why would they go
really
on Celebrity Deathmatch after that?
I'm thinking of no, I'm not after that. And Celebrity Deathmatch is claymation. But what I'm saying is, if you had to, if you almost had to debate which one is more of a powerful pain. Because I know this is the way I put it, Brian, and I'm not trying to give away any information as to what either one of us is actually going through right now. But I know you are in a severe pain. The pain that I know you're in is the pain. Anytime I've had that pain has been the worst pain I've had
today
in my
it's not
entire
too
life.
bad. A lot
That's
better
good.
than yesterday.
That's good. Maybe your brain is actually learning how to almost not numb the pain, but deal with the pain.
No,
You know,
even
like
the
sometimes people
swelling
with
and
back
shit's
pain.
going down too. I can speak pretty well and fucking look. Even none of this feels swollen today. It's just a little puffy.
Maybe it's part of placebo. Well, maybe then your pain's not as bad as mine. Maybe today.
No, maybe I
this
caught
is
that
a
shit
bad
early
comparison.
enough and took the right
But
steps to
then
make
again,
sure that
I'm
it didn't get any worse and
wearing
my
off
body beat that
from
shit.
my emotional pain. I have an emotional pain. You have a physical pain, and I don't want to. There's definitely no need to compare the two, but if you just compare emotional and physical pain and you like the levels of them around the same. I'm not saying our levels are around the same because I really don't know, and I'm not
Actually,
trying to get
right
into
now
that.
yours would probably be worse than mine
I
because
don't know
mine's
that.
starting to feel better.
I'm starting to feel better there, Brian. That's the thing. Like, compared to yesterday, I'm markedly better. But compared to the day before that, I'm a lot better. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know, Brian. I don't know. My pain is slowly dissipating.
But it's funny you mention a veteran who lost his leg. Bill Cooper.
Bill Cooper didn't lose his leg.
You did.
He did?
Not in the war, though.
He lost his leg? Bill Cooper was missing a
when
leg?
government guys ran him off the road trying to get him to shut up, it cost him a leg.
Wow, I did not
Yeah, go back and look at some of the lectures in the 90s. He had a fake leg.
Probably knew that at some point, but that's also probably the reason why me and Brian seem like we're not so animated today and so anxious to talk to you. No, we are very anxious to talk to you. We're just not. We're not going to be the most animated today for no reasons. Don't be mad. We're still bringing you hard-hitting, heavy topics. All right, Brian. So let's get into it. Bill Cooper, hero or hack?
Oh, Bill Cooper. He was born May 6th, 1943, and he died
November
5th, 2001, right after 9/11.
Remember.
And he's best known for his book, Behold a Pale Horse, that came out in 1991.
So he was 58 years old when he died.
And he's also known for his radio show, The Hour of the Time. And on June 28th, 2001, on that radio show, he predicted that in the coming weeks there would be a major attack in New York City, that former CIA asset Osama bin Laden would be used as the patsy, the fall guy, and that he warned his listeners, don't believe it when it happens. So he basically predicted 9/11 about, that would be 2 months earlier?
Don't believe it when it happens.
No, he said that. That's why I was listening to it before
He warned, don't believe the official story.
Yeah, exactly.
When it happens, because exactly like you were just listening to it before the show, like on his show when he was talking about that. He was like, these jackasses who have spend the most money out of any country in history on intelligence, on that kind of intelligence, can't find this guy, but some doofus from CNN can go find this guy in a couple days. You know?
Yeah, this guy with a camera crew, he manages to just go walking right into his secret lair and interview him.
But I don't know. I've read probably half of Behold a Pale Horse. I'm not going to lie. I haven't read the entire thing. And that was probably when I first woke up, maybe 5-6 years ago. It was the first book. Somebody gave it to me. My buddy who, when I was in the process of waking up, it was my best friend at the time. And he one day, probably a month or two into me waking up and constantly coming to him almost every day, yo, guess what I found out today? This is some crazy shit. Hear about this Federal Reserve shit? The Federal Reserve is some private bank. And there's this book called Creature of Jekyll Isle. And if you check that book out, that explains how on a bank holiday or during the Christmas holiday or the Christmas break back in 1913, that a bunch of the congressmen or whatever came in and basically ushered in a private bank system to run our economy and our currency. And it's what the fuck? And all this different shit that I would come to him with. So after a month or two, and I'd seen it on a shelf before, but I didn't know it was that kind of book. I almost thought it was probably a religious book or something. But he
looking
handed
at that
me the
cover,
book and was just
just looking at the cover of Behold
I was
the Pale
blown away
Horse.
by the cover.
I would think it was some crazy fantasy novel.
You almost would. I was very interested by the cover, and when he told me just read this and it'll really open your eyes even more. I read it. I read half of it at least. It took me probably a good 2-3 months to even get through half of it because I got to read in short spurts to really fully grasp what I'm reading. But it was some pretty powerful information. It was a pretty powerful book. And up to that point, that was a lot of that information was my first exposure to that information. What I'm coming to learn now, especially as I've learned a lot of things on my own and have researched a lot of different sources and topics and things, is that a lot of this information was already kind of in the public domain. Now, not in the public domain where it was well known, but a lot of the information, probably, in my opinion, maybe 80 to 85% of the information that Bill Cooper shared was already information that he could have actually gleaned from other people's books, other people's lectures, other sources. And from what I've heard and what I've kind of remember, it's honestly been a very long time since, it feels like it's been a very long time since I've read any of his book, that he makes a lot of claims. You know what I'm saying? That he makes a lot of claims that he discovered this shit, and it's debatable whether or not he discovered the shit. And I guess that's my reasoning for calling the show Bill Cooper Hero or Hack. Because I think a lot of people who would do a show that we do, or the type of show that we do, would be like, Bill Cooper, the hero, and that would be the name of the show.
Yeah.
But us, and especially the direction we've gone in the past maybe 10, 15, 20 episodes, I guess me more than you, Brian, and it's not a bad thing whatsoever. I love the different perspectives that we bring to things. But we definitely want to question everything. there's nothing wrong with questioning everything, and even things that we hold true as far as what we believe and what we really feel and we know. It's okay to question. It doesn't mean because we question it, then that means we have to change our mind. That means that we were wrong. No, but it's being willing to be
the one thing I like about watching Bill Cooper's lectures that he did, every single lecture he does to all these people that show up to these things, most of them are packed auditoriums.
Yeah.
And he always tells them, don't believe a word I tell you. Don't trust anybody. Go home. Just listen to what I tell you. Go home and look it up for yourself, and you will see that I am telling you the truth.
You're 100% right. I'll always come back to you, or come back to that. And I was actually just watching old Were We Lied To videos last night, and one of the, I believe the second or the third
his
video,
JFK presentation,
or maybe the third or the fourth video,
the
third or fourth Were We Lied To video that actually features me talking about stuff, and I'm getting ready to remove them because they have less than 50 views, all of them except for my my Libya War one, which the real reasons for the Libya War. But one of the second or third videos that I created, at the end of the video, I put up a Bill Cooper quote, and my favorite Bill Cooper quote of all time is, basically I can't even remember exactly what the quote is, but it's don't believe me, do your own research, and find your own answers. You know what I'm saying? Don't trust me. That's what it was. Don't trust me, do your own research, find your own answers. You know what I'm saying? I'm almost like I'm just giving you a place to start, but that doesn't mean that I'm right. You know what I'm saying? And I really appreciated that because nobody says that. Not even Alex Jones says, well, maybe I'm wrong, but, you know what I'm saying? That's the one thing that we've brought, and if you've listened to all
But Alex
of our
Jones
shows,
does say, go look it up for yourself.
But if you listen to all of our shows, that's one theme that's underlying throughout every single 3NN show and pretty much every single brainstorming show.
That's why we re-verify all our sources.
Well, but what we also say is if we're not 100% sure on our source, or we're not that we can't remember the source. I mean, if we're not 100% sure on the validity of the source, we're willing to say, well, this could possibly be wrong. We're not we're no geniuses over here. Sorry, we're not Stephen Hawking over here working on conspiracies and figuring out which ones are real and which ones aren't. No, that's not us. Unfortunately, we're just kind of your regular guys. We're not idiots by any stretch of the imagination, or I don't think we'd be doing this show. But we're not rocket scientists.
Give people some background on Bill Cooper.
I can barely even say scientist. Shit, I'm not a rocket scientist.
Okay, Bill Cooper was in the military for a while. He got into they're good, aren't they?
I hate barbecue, but I love Pringles barbecue.
Right?
So.
It's great, ain't it?
What the fuck?
But
MSG, baby.
Well, he was he was in Vietnam, and then from there he went into the Office of Naval Intelligence, and then he got out and started writing books and giving lectures a couple years down the line. Then he predicted 9/11 in detail on June 28th, 2001. 9/11 happened September 11th, 2001. And on November 5th, 2001, Bill Cooper was shot by cops in his house. And there's a lot of conflicting stories as to what occurred that night.
Okay.
You can confirm that he did shoot at a cop.
I have some responses, Brian.
That's all I got.
This is what I'm gleaming. Okay?
I'm just going to throw the rest from memory as we go.
Well, then I need you to kind of be the devil's advocate for the information I'm sharing. For anybody who thinks that Bill Cooper was just a drunk nut or just a drunk who didn't really know what he was talking about and didn't really blow the lid off of anything. Okay. This is all gleamed from Mark Dice's 2 videos, a 2-part series that he did.
There's your source, Mark Dice.
Yes, and we call Mark Dice Mark Schuldice, don't we?
We do.
Mark Dice
because that's his real name.
Schuldice is his name.
Schuldice, yeah.
But we like to call him Mark Schuldice because we think he's a shill. And in many ways, it could be argued that he is a shill. And my main argument is that he's all about just selling his own product. And come on, I got the name Nick Tesla. I could take this name and really go hard on some marketing thing and get my name out there and really get that name famous. But why am I'm not about the name Nick Tesla. I'm about the information and the truth and basically having a source for children 20 years from now to go back and actually listen to people who are objectively trying to cover some shit, and they don't have like, oh well, look at this guy, he's got Nick Tesla written all over everything, he's trying to like sell the Nick Tesla brand. How much can you really trust exactly what he's saying, or is he just trying to say what he thinks the most
he's
people
just
will
like that Alex Jones
fans.
guy.
Yeah, it's like I don't want to be like anybody else, and I'll give Mark Dice credit, he's not really like anybody else, but he's still he almost comes across as an egomaniac because he's so Mark Dice.
I will say, if Mark Dice ever like somehow gets wind of this episode and listens to this, I love the Man on the Street interviews, and I fucking love the petitions. Do more petitions.
See, Brian loves Mark Dice.
No, I didn't say
Brian
that.
loves Mark Dice.
I love some of the bits Mark Dice does.
I'm mincing your words. It's fucked up.
I don't like everything Mark Dice puts out. I don't 100% agree with him. I like some of the stuff Alex Jones puts out, mainly his documentaries. But, you know,
it's okay, Brian.
I don't 100% agree with everything the man says.
A lot of people would say that's not okay, Brian, that it's not okay to...
David Icke puts out great information, but I don't agree with 100% of it.
Exactly. And it's okay to not agree 100% with what somebody says, but still agree with some of what they say. That doesn't make you a hypocrite, and that doesn't make you like... Oh, well, then you just don't know what you're talking about because that person is obviously wrong because some of what they say...
David Icke's a great example because you can sit there and say, all right, you had me up until reptilian shapeshifters.
Yeah. The reptilian shapeshifters! We got to get that on the soundboard.
We do. We really do.
All right, so I want to go back to Billy Cooper here. Mr. Wilton Cooper, is that it? No, sorry. Is it William Milton Cooper? That's
Other way around.
Milton William Cooper?
Yeah.
Okay. Whatevs.
At least that's how it is in Behold a Pale Horse. It says Milton William Cooper.
Okay, cool. All right. Here's what I know, Brian. And this is from Mark Dice, but this is what I can glean that I remember from my research into Bill Cooper, because I didn't really just read half of the Behold a Pale Horse book over a year span, and that was it for Bill Cooper. Wipe my hands, I'm done with the whole Bill Cooper thing. No, I looked into a lot of Bill Cooper, especially as I was reading the book and the times that I would sit down and read the book, or when I was thinking about that I wanted to read the book, but I was too, just like with all my other books, I'm just too busy to sit down and read the book, so I'll find a video or something on YouTube that kind of talks about it, right? Well, I found a few videos talking about Bill Cooper, and most of them were like pro Bill Cooper videos, right? But after listening, or after... listening to what Mark Dice had to say, reading from his book, Illuminati's Lies and Facts or some shit.
Yeah, whatever the hell it was, I watched that video.
I'm not giving him any more, any more free marketing than he already tries to give himself. So if I screwed up the name of your book, just be happy I at least tried to say the name of your book. But... because I have a feeling he might listen to this. If he is, hey, Mark Dice, you're still welcome to come on the show.
More petitions and more Man on the Street interviews.
Mark Dice he's still welcome to come on the show. He may not enjoy coming on the show or really want to come on the show because we're talking trash about him, but we're on a little bit of a different level of... we're not down there with we're going to feud with other YouTube channels like how so many YouTube channels love to feud with each other in so many different genres. We're not on that level.
That's true, because right now somebody we know is probably sitting there saying, they're trying to start a feud with Mark Dice and get famous.
We're
not.
At the point where we're trying to advance discussion because we don't believe there's enough discussion on important topics. And some of these topics, many people who try and advance important discussions or discussions about important topics like to leave out certain topics because they're too fringe of topics. So that's where we come in to discuss these topics.
And not too many people talk about Bill Cooper.
No, exactly.
Even toward the end, Alex Jones interviewed him that one time, and
yeah, Alex Jones has made up lies about him. That's why it's hard to decipher whether or not
And the main reason Bill Cooper didn't like Alex Jones was the Y2K thing.
Yeah. What was
for people that never heard that?
Not just with Y2K, but with everything. Alex Jones is a fearmonger.
Well, on Y2K, when that shit was supposed to go down, Alex Jones was live on the air telling people that nukes were launching and tanks were rolling down the streets and power plants were shutting down and scaring the shit out of people.
Do you think Bill Cooper, although on air and in public, would state that he did not like Alex Jones and his tactics whatsoever, do you think Bill Cooper may have actually secretly not really told anybody, but admired some of Alex Jones' tactics and maybe wanted to find out how he could maybe use some of those tactics, not to such an extreme level, but learn to use some of those tactics because it gains listeners. Alex Jones was even gaining listeners more than Bill Cooper was back in the day. Hate to admit it.
Well, at the time, the Hour of the Time was only on that local broadband radio.
Exactly. So the Hour of the Time was the kind of like our podcast is now. Not really that popular of a thing, somewhat. Probably a little more popular.
It was popular in the area that he could reach, but he didn't have a large
and he didn't have an internet
area to
broadcasting it on the internet because the internet wasn't really a thing.
They're available now on the internet.
Yes,
some
exactly.
episodes, not all of them.
Honestly, I always think about our episodes like that 10, 15, 20 years from now. People will be all over our shit, and it's like, why weren't you all over it when we were doing it? You know what I'm saying? When you could interact with us, why weren't you all over it? Now all of a sudden we're done with it, and we've moved on, and we both got kids and families and have moved on in life, and you're all about it and want us to bring it back and this and that. Like, no, sorry, you should have been listening 20 years ago, so start listening to people. All right, Brian, I want to get back to Bill Cooper and the...
Go for it. You're the one talking about...
The Mark Dice Smear Fest. I guess that you would almost probably refer to it in your head, maybe, because it's going to seem like a smear fest.
Some of it made sense. A lot of it, I don't believe.
Okay. Well, this is what I took from it. These are the notes that I took from it. Some of it is word for word. I'm not plagiarizing Mark Dice. I'm just reading word for word some of the stuff that he wrote in his book and that he quoted as being attributed to to Bill Cooper and people affiliated with Bill Cooper, okay? So, according to Mark Dice, right, after discharge from the Navy, Bill Cooper was broke and homeless. He did not make much off selling tapes of his lectures, okay? So he wrote Behold a Pale Horse to try and make recurring revenue, which is somewhat of a smart idea and somewhat makes sense to me.
Yeah,
maybe he's wrong.
Makes perfect sense
but
for that time period.
If you're discharged from the Navy, you're not like. It depends. Like if he's, I don't.
Yeah, because in the late '80s, early '90s, at the time, people still read books, and we were using VHS tapes. So
was he dishonorably or honorably?
I do not recall off the top of my head.
If he was dishonorably discharged from the Navy, which I'm not claiming he was, I don't know. But if he was dishonorably discharged from the Navy,
I don't think he was.
I don't believe.
Let me find out.
Well, if he was dishonorably discharged, he could very, very easily wind up broke and homeless. If he was honorably discharged, not as easily, but still pretty easily wind up broke and homeless. You know what I'm saying? Depending on if he, like, what types of jobs and shit he's open to, he may have thought that he had a whole completely different path in his mind, and he wanted to expose and open up people's eyes to the truth. You know what I'm saying? And didn't want to work a full-time job because that just takes away from the time he could be putting into researching and sharing that information with people through Hour of the Time. Okay?
Well, I don't think Hour of the Time existed at the time he wrote this book.
No, but afterwards he was like, all right, so... But maybe what I'm saying is maybe that it was in his head is like, how can I get this information out to people? How can I share this information? A lot of people think he was just out like he was kind of an egomaniac like Mark Dyson, just wanted to get his name out there. And I don't believe that about Bill Cooper at all.
Hell no, I
would
either.
More believe that Bill Cooper was a drunk before I would believe that. You know what I'm saying? And
well, he may have been. If you look at some of the shit he's done
I've known some drunks that are actually
it could have made him... You know? He could have had PTSD.
Yeah. Maybe not. Maybe he was just a drunk. I don't know. All right. So this is what the Mark Dice Smear Fest begins.
I don't really know a lot about PTSD. I don't know if that would drive you to drink, but I guess it could, right?
It could. But a lot of things can drive you to drink. An annoying wife can drive you to drink. All right, ready? Millions of pages. This is the beginning of the Mark Dice Smear Fest, and this is one of his main points that Mark Dice makes, and honestly, it makes a little bit of sense to me. I guess part of my brain wants to kind of wants to argue back with it, but I feel like I'm just arguing semantics there because I can't really know. Okay? Millions of pages of classified documents exist. How did he accidentally, with air quotes here, see the documents he claims to have seen? How did he come across, out of all the millions of classified documents, how did he come across JFK documents, Bilderberg documents, UFO documents, all the documents he claims to have come across? How did he come across all of those? How is he that privy to that high quality of classified documents when there's literally millions of classified documents out there. You know?
Let's see. It says he resigned effective April 15th, 1989.
Okay.
Oh, no, wait. No. No, that's from a job at a college or something that he did after the Navy.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure this out.
All right, well, stop me when you have, okay?
Yes.
He had a top secret Q security clearance. I have no knowledge whatsoever about U.S. security clearances and intelligence security clearances, so I have no idea. It sounds a little goofy to me, but I could be saying it's goofy and it could be completely legit. So I could be wrong, okay? Okay. He claimed to have seen top secret documents pertaining to JFK, UFOs, and the New World Order. Okay. Claimed to have seen multiple UFOs while serving in the Navy. He was told not to speak of this to anyone. That makes sense to
yes.
me. That doesn't sound like a lie.
That makes sense.
Mark Dyson
and he wrote about that.
Sounded like a lie. That does not sound like a lie.
He wrote about that experience in Behold a Pale Horse.
I've seen a UFO myself. I've seen a fleet of UFOs myself, and unidentified flying objects I have seen. A fleet of unidentified flying objects I have seen. But
well, I have his discharge form.
Aliens. Huh?
I have his discharge form.
Okay.
If anyone's interested, Milton William Cooper.
Does it say anywhere on there?
Well, hold
honorable?
on. His grade rate under grade rate or rank, he was a QM1 with a pay grade E6 at the NSA TI San Francisco, California.
Okay.
All right. Honorable discharge.
Okay. So I don't know. If
effective
how
12/11/75.
I almost feel like he was supposed to be kind of maybe like if we, sometimes we said Alex Jones was COINTELPRO. What if Bill Cooper was supposed to be COINTELPRO, but he just kind of went off on his own little tangent.
Ooh, back in the early days of COINTELPRO.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying because he was a day or two after his murder or after he was killed. The AP released Associated Press released a report and called him the leader of a national militia movement. So was maybe he a COINTELPRO agent inserted as a leader, air quotes here, leader of the national militia movement, I don't know. That's interesting.
I don't think he was officially the leader. They were just saying that.
But that's
because
why
he was talking heavily about the militia at the time.
That's why
in
you
his
would have to
lectures.
discredit him now, especially if Mark Dice is actually a paid shill. That's his job to discredit somebody like Bill Cooper who screwed up and was supposed to do his job and didn't and got drunk and decided to just kind of do his own radio show and try and tell people all about it and this and that. And it's like he has every right to, but you're going to wind up dead eventually.
Well, yeah, they try. Oh.
But also, if he's a nut, he's going to wind up dead no matter what because he's going to have some sort of altercation with what he likes to talk about and deal with, and being a nut. I'm sorry, but you have no choice. Well, and we only got like 12 minutes left.
As Bill Cooper puts it, they came once and threatened him to stop talking about it, and he didn't. So then they ran him off the road, and he lost his leg in that altercation.
Okay.
And he still kept doing his lectures and writing his books and doing his show. And then after predicting 9/11, there was a shootout with police at his house where he died.
Okay.
That's pretty much all I know.
Here. And wait until I get to the killing part, the day that he was killed. And I want to hear what your thoughts are on that because that's actually one of the things that I looked into more than probably what he exposed was Bill Cooper and the person that Bill Cooper was in his life and how his life ended. Because I was like, how's this guy not still around? I want to listen to this guy now. How come he's not still around? Oh, he died. What? All right, listen to this. Some you might be a little offset by, and I apologize for that. But just listen. This is all from the Mark Dice Smearfest. Member as child of the De Malloy Society, which is a kid's brand of Freemasonry, or a kid's branch, of Freemasonry. Okay. It's claimed that Anthony Sutton's book, America's Secret Establishment, is maybe where he learned much of what he based his facts on. His conspiracy facts that people are like, you can't argue with that. You can't argue with that. Okay, you can't argue with it, but that information was already out there, and the proof is Anthony Sutton's book, America's Secret Establishment. Okay? He claims that Majestic 12 He claims this group of CFR members oversees all UFO information, which I don't know too much about Majestic 12, which is sad because I'm so interested in UFOs and stuff, but I've heard plenty of mentions on Majestic 12. Majestic 12 is a thing. May not still be a thing currently in practice or in power or anything like that, but it definitely was a thing. And eventually you'll see, just like Project Blue Book files, you'll see.
It's probably still around, but it's called something like the Trilateral Commission or one of those kind of groups,
But the Trilateral Commission doesn't.
I know it's not. I know it's not the Trilateral Commission, but it's like a group like that.
Mm-hmm. All right. No, these damn Pringles, man. We're going to have to get them to be a sponsor so they can send us a can for every show.
Right, that'd be great.
One for each of us for each show. Because for our invisible third non-nerd here. Believes Zapruder film shows driver shooting JFK. And it's not agreed upon by anyone who has done any legitimate studies done on the assassination of JFK. There's never been one conclusion made that the driver turned around and shot JFK. Now, if you watch this video, this is a Zapruder film, and you really watch the driver, you can be fooled into thinking. Your eyes can almost fool you into thinking. I know it sounds like, what, your eyes don't fool you. No, your eyes can be fooled into thinking, because it's a grainy film, it's a little bit older, that you see the driver turn around, look back, and you can almost make out what looks like a gun in his hand, and it almost looks like he's firing off the gun as JFK's head explodes. If you really watch this video, to really decipher it, I guess most people can watch the video, and if they don't believe that, they're like, no, it's obviously not happening. But if part of you believes it, watch the video 100 times. One over and over and over and over again, and really, really, if you can zoom in on it, really try and pay attention to that driver, because you'll come to find out that it was all literally like shadows, and like literally how you can see a face on a tree or something, and that tree did not grow a face, sorry, but it's kind of your mind putting together something that it might want to think is there, not want to think is there, but your mind putting together something that slightly resembles something, and it's telling you it's something that it's not really, because it's really just shadows and the way that the perspective that you're seeing it from. I really do not believe, after watching the Zapruder film so many times, I do not believe that the driver turned around and shot JFK. I think he heard JFK get shot in the throat and heard JFK as soon as it happened, like the panic of Jackie O, and he turned his head to look back, and that's when the last shots were fired to kill JFK and explode his head. But I guess his head didn't really explode. Wouldn't that be kind of interesting if the Mandela effect went back and all of a sudden you looked at the videos and JFK's head actually like exploded and there was nothing left?
Like explode out like in a movie?
Yeah. All right, I'll stop. All right. So Bill Cooper just stated that over and over and over again, that if you watch the Zapruder film, you can see the driver clearly shoot JFK. And I'm not really sure. Yeah, hey, maybe the driver was in on the grand plot, like how the Secret Service dipped off right before it happened. Who knows? Maybe the driver was involved, but I don't think he was a shooter on the scene.
I think he was definitely involved, because Secret Service protocol is if the president comes under fire, you speed up and get the fuck out of there.
He did.
You don't. No, he slowed down to almost like 10 miles an hour. And everyone who talks about it says that no, you don't do that.
Yeah, but he slowed down. I don't know if he was really sure if the president was shot or exactly what happened. Yeah, maybe
it doesn't matter. He's under fire. You get the hell out of there.
To speed out of there. So yeah, something goofy was going on that day. But we're not here to talk about JFK. We did that a few weeks ago, and it was a great show. All right. Bill Cooper states this. Oh my God!
I've never heard Bill Cooper burp in any of his lectures.
I'm trying to read what I wrote here. Okay, this is funny. Okay, and this is what he said. But also, if you think about, it's like maybe he wasn't as crazy as some people say. If you really think about it, you'll find people who still state to this day that a second son is coming. There's a second son coming, and that's going to be like the bringing in of an all new like society, world, everything will completely change with the second son. And I don't know. I've thought Comet Elenin was going to hit us a few years ago, so I'm not really sure if there's a second sun on the horizon. You know what I'm saying?
Wait. Did you think anything was going to happen in 2012?
Part of me did, and part of me still feels like something did on a deeper, like, subconscious level with all of humanity, which can lead us to things like demonic possessions, as you'll see. Like, if you watch some of these videos, people
have you been watching videos
like
about CERN
possessions? No. All right, look, Brian, we got 5 minutes, literally 5 minutes to the dot to go.
That's okay. We can do another 15 or so if we need to.
We can, but I don't think we will.
Yeah, we will. It's Bill Cooper.
Watch what I do here. All right, Bill Cooper. To mark the year 2000, this is what Bill Cooper said. To mark the year 2000, the Illuminati would use the Galileo spacecraft to detonate 49.7 pounds of plutonium on Jupiter, causing a nuclear reaction, causing a second sun to form. This new star would be called Lucifer. All I can say about that is, before I move on from that, is we are at Jupiter right now. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Or actually, I think we passed Jupiter. I'm pretty sure we already passed it. But I don't know. We're messing around with Jupiter. Something could happen. No, I'm just playing.
You ever see 2001: A Space Odyssey?
Yeah, I've seen all.
You don't fuck with Jupiter.
Yeah, you don't fuck with Jupiter. But what he said was to mark the year 2000. So that should have happened 16 years ago, according to Bill Cooper. And even if it's like, oh, well, they delayed it for 5-10 years because of technological things or problems or technological differences.
Technological differences?
But even if they delayed it, it still should have happened by now if he was actually right and had seen some document that proves that that's going to happen. All right. He also claimed, and this is where I've said before on Bill Cooper, his religious undertones to a lot of the things he's saying really makes me question the validity of a lot of it. Okay, not a lot of it, but some of it, definitely some of it, I question. Okay, He said the Spear of Destiny and other biblical items of importance would be reunited to give a world leader indescribable power. I don't know, Brian. That sounds a little far-fetched to me. I'm sorry, it does. Maybe there are some powerful objects from the past, but I don't know if the Spear of Destiny or the Ark of the Covenant is really out there and is really going to give somebody this massive power. All right, nuclear. This is another one, Brian. Okay, nuclear subs meet every year under the Antarctic ice, the only place they cannot be bugged for the Bilderberg groups. That's where the Bilderberg group it takes place every year. Well, now we know, 20 years later, okay, we know the Bilderberg group meets in known locations every year, and we protest outside those locations. Not me and you personally, but people protest those locations.
Yeah,
so that's not
you get a lot. You get half a YouTube live streaming from it.
When he was saying that was before that time. That was before the time where people
before YouTube
even knew that the Bilderberg group even really existed. People questioned whether it even really existed because then people didn't know where the meetings were every year, and you know what I'm saying? There was no publicity for it whatsoever. So that's kind of wrong. In my opinion, that's wrong. Maybe they do meet in subs under the Antarctic ice every year. I don't think they do. I think they meet in hotels every year, and we found that out. But back when it was still mysterious, he had to kind of make up an answer that he thinks makes more sense.
Wouldn't it be crazy if they do meet in subs, and those are all lookalikes that are in those hotels?
Or clones. Gucci Mane clones.
Wait, do we still have time? Did we run out?
No, we're 2 minutes.
Okay.
We'll go for another 5 or 10.
I just don't want it to end recording and we're sitting here talking for another 10 minutes and we forget about it.
I got my eye on it. All right. So, and this is like the Mark Dice Smearfest, but some of it makes sense. I'm sorry, Mark Dice, to give you any credit, but some of this makes a little bit of sense. And I'm not. Maybe Mark Dice stole these points from somebody else, just like he's saying Bill Cooper stole his points from people. So you know what, Mark Dice? Mark Dice says, find the evidence. And maybe there is no evidence.
But
maybe
here's the thing. In that genre of show that all these different people do, at that type of information they're putting out, everybody's stealing everything from everybody anyway.
Because the point is to share the information.
Exactly.
But if you claim that you discovered this information, then you take it to a whole new level where you can be accused of being a fraud.
True.
If it's proven that you're not, or that you haven't discovered that and you just shared somebody else's opinion or somebody else's facts that they discovered. Okay? All right. This is actually something that Bill Cooper writes in Behold a Pale Horse. I don't remember seeing it, so maybe I didn't get to that point. I don't know. All capital letters, patriots must not be home on national patriotic holidays ever. Disregard this warning and you will find yourself in a concentration camp. What?
We may be getting there.
But you can't barbecue with your family on July 4th? Like, I don't understand what this... It boggles my mind that he thinks that if you're home on a national patriotic holiday, like July 4th or Memorial Day or Labor Day, you're going to be taken to a concentration camp. It's going to happen no matter what. Dude, that was almost 20 years ago he said that. I don't remember anybody saying, damn, I stayed home on 4th of July and fucking got taken to a concentration camp. Luckily, I snuck out that bitch. But no, nobody says that shit. It hasn't happened. Maybe he's seen some document or claims to have seen some document that says that that's how it's going to go down. And I don't think it's going to happen like that, Brian. You want to know why? Because it's going to happen like this. Pokemon Go and other games such as Pokemon Go, which I'm starting to have a feeling I think we're going to at least have to do half of next week's show on Pokemon Go, just because I've got some information and some crazy stories about people playing Pokemon Go and like doing some like really weird stuff. All right, here's what's going to happen, and I look out for the video on Where We Lied To. It'll be up in the next day or two. Our Pokemon Go adventure in the city, I guess you could call it. Pokemon Go. There's going to be a horde of Squirtles or Charizard or something like that, one of these top-rated Pokemons, and they're going to be in FEMA camps. And they're going to open up the gates, and they're going to almost like vacate the building, and they're going to let people come in. And all the employees that are in there are just going to be like, okay, yeah, come on in. It's fine. Yeah. Oh, this is a Pokestop? Or this is a gym? Okay, yeah, come on in. Yeah, no problem. Sure.
Yeah, that makes it different. Come on in.
We've been open for this all time and for people to come in and hang out and relax here, and nobody comes in. Come on in. And they're going to get hundreds of people in there and close the gates, and all right, we got some people here. And then let their phones die, or cut off cell reception to their phones, or which I know you can do for certain areas.
Oh, yeah.
Shut off the tower or something. Boom. All right, you got a group of people there. And you just do that all around the country in all your pre-set up FEMA camps and pre-set up private prisons that aren't stocked enough. There you go. What happens when prisons are the new gyms for, what do you call it, Pokemon?
Oh, shit. I wonder if that's happened yet. You have a Pokemon appear inside of, like, a federal prison.
I don't know. Because as far as I know, it's almost random where the Pokemon are, the Pokestops and the Pokestops and the gyms are not random. They're based on churches and certain points of interest, which is crazy because there's some people whose houses were former churches, like within 5 years ago, and they bought the church and turned it into their house, but it's still listed as a church in the Pokemon. Or the company that makes Pokemon Go's their servers is still listed as a church.
Google Maps they use.
They use Google Maps to an extent, but the whole system was actually set up off of a previous game, and previous games not checkpoints, but they actually had what do they? I think they called them portals. And that, like a gym or a Pokestop was called a portal, and people could go there and collect energy points or something like that. It was like kind of a similar game, and that's what Pokemon Go is completely based off of. So a lot of the locations that are used in Pokemon Go were actually created previously 5 years ago for this other augmented reality game.
So here's a question for you then. If we just spent all this time saying this guy stole his stuff from this guy and this guy stole his stuff from this guy, what is the difference between if Bill Cooper is repeating something someone else already said versus Pokemon Go stealing their entire design off another game?
They didn't. It's basically Pokemon or whoever owns the rights to Pokemon contacted, or the video game rights to Pokemon, contacted this company that had this augmented reality game already and said, can you make a game just like that, but Pokemon? And they used the same engine. That company said, yeah, sure. And they used the exact same engine and overlaid Pokemon stuff all over top of it. So it's the same company. They're not stealing anything. The company just got lazy. I don't say they got lazy because they had a pretty innovative idea already. But they just transferred all of the same information, just basically used the bones of the previous game and put Pokemon stuff on top of it. So there really was no stealing there. But I understand what you're saying. That does happen in other things. All right. Real quick, back to the crazy claims of Bill Cooper.
Mark Schildice's version.
Yeah, the Mark Dice smearfest here, yes. Secret base on the moon, which, that's not craziness. If you ask me, that's not craziness. I'm not saying, hey, I believe there's a secret base on the moon, but I just saw a video about some very, very, very weird thing caught by somebody with their high-powered telescope. Okay, not somebody who, caught something on NASA's website or this or that. No. They caught this with their high-powered telescope and recorded it with their own telescope. So it's not the clearest picture, but you can clearly see some sort of an object that is almost indecipherable. It looks like the Blob. It looks like the Blob, or 5 or 6 blobs all stuck to each other. If you know the movie The Blob,
yeah.
Right? It's like 5 or 6 blobs all stuck to each other, black as anything, as like the blackest thing in the world, right? But all stuck to each other with some sort of a UFO like hovering right at the top of it, or like looking like it's like trying to dock with it or some shit. And this is like a real video somebody took off of their telescope, and they're like, "What in the fuck is that?" You know what I'm saying? So there's weird stuff that could be possibly going on the moon. So I'm not going to sit here and say, well, Bill Cooper was crazy for saying there's a secret base on the moon. Even Buzz Aldrin has said there's something on the moon.
I was watching one of his lectures yesterday where he said there was bases on the moon already long before the Apollo programs even began.
Do you know what I believe? If there is bases on the moon, which I do somewhat believe it. You know, I'm waiting to see more concrete evidence of it, but somewhat believe it, but I believe it is actually human civilization from before, because I don't believe fully in the whole evolution theory. I think there's some things that we're still yet to find out, and then when we do, it'll change everything, right? But I believe our previous civilization that nuked themselves to shit, and for 10,000 or 100,000 or even 500,000 or close to a million years, it took that long for humanity to build itself back up and become intelligent again and all of that, right? This civilization has lived on the moon. They escaped to the moon, or at least like the smartest ones before they all destroyed themselves. The smartest ones escaped to the moon and set up bases on the moon and been living on the moon as their own little civilization and have their own little colony underground on the moon, you know? You'd have to do it underground.
I wonder if it's like the people in Brave New World.
If you don't do it underground, then you're taking a risk on being seen by any number of entities, or even a new human race that arises on Earth and is able to see the moon, or clearly, or at least view the moon, or go to the moon. It's like you can't let them see that there's bases there, you know? All
True.
Right. Some weird shit. We just got into the moon. We haven't done any moon stuff in a long time. But hey, Bill Cooper got us into the moon, talking about the secret base on the moon. So I don't really know if that's really that crazy. But if he said he saw a secret document or a classified document talking about a base on the moon, I don't know how much I'm going to believe that.
Well, he says in Behold a Pale Horse that he personally witnessed UFOs flying in and out of the ocean.
Yes, he did. He did, and I personally believe that. But I believe wanting other people to... Because when you tell people that, most people look at you with this like kind of weird eye and this crazy eye, right? So, knowing that, maybe he told a few people about it, and I'm sure he was told not to speak about it. Okay? Yeah. I'm sure he was told not to speak about it. But knowing the type of person that Bill Cooper probably is, he probably told a few people that he thought he was close with, and they kind of looked at him crazy, and he was like, I got to come up with something else to kind of verify this, so people like don't think that I'm just kind of making this up, or that I'm crazy. I got to come up with some shit, because I'm in the Navy, so technically I might be able to actually stumble across something to prove that UFOs exist, so why not? You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. And the reason I'm saying that is because he admitted to fabricating documents in order to fool the government. And this is what he said, or this was his reason, was in order to fool the government to think he is a kook who doesn't know anything. That was his reasoning that he gave for fabricating documents when it was proven. I guess he denied it at first, and then when it was proven that he fabricated the documents, which I'm not sure what documents they are. I didn't see. The Mark Schildice didn't give us much info on what those documents are. But I know, I'm almost positive that information is out there to find. But he fabricated documents to fool the government, to make them think that he's a kook and doesn't know what he's talking about. That just seems like too convenient of an answer to get people off your back for making something up, I don't know.
I don't know.
Rubs me the wrong way. Sorry, that just rubs me. If somebody's accused of that and then caught doing it, and they have to admit that they did that in all reality, you say, I should not have done that. That was wrong. Instead of trying to immediately it reminds me of like a narcissist. I'm not trying to call him a narcissist, but I know somebody very close to me personally who is definitely a narcissist, and that's what they do. If they're caught and they have to admit that they did something wrong, or admit that they lied or whatever, they will never go to, well, yeah, hey, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. It's, yeah, but it was because of this. But it was because of it. They always have to justify it with something instead of just saying, shit, you know what? I did. Like, there's this dude, oh man, I can't remember his name. Oh, shit. Matthew Santoro on YouTube. You may recognize the name somewhat. He's a very popular YouTuber, not the most popular by any means, but he's very popular on YouTube and has a very big following, and I'm sure it's a lot of young kids and stuff, right? But this dude, Matthew Santoro, was caught plagiarizing content off of YouTube. Okay, plagiarizing other people's content and basically stealing their content. Not stealing their content, but stealing their topic ideas and their I guess discussion on it or their coverage of it. Basically stealing it. I don't know if it was word for word, but I guess it was. If people are accusing him of plagiarizing, stealing it and creating his own content and calling it the exact same thing or close to it or whatever. People are like, that's somebody else made that video 3 months ago, and now you're making the exact same type of video, but with your face and your name. Like, something's wrong. But he was approached at YouTube Con or whatever, or TuberCon. I don't know what the hell
There's a YouTube Con?
Yes, there is, and I hope that within the next year or two, me and you will be attending, Brian. I really do. But he was approached at the YouTube Con or whatever it's called, Creator Con. I can't remember the hell, whatever it's called. He was approached by somebody, and when the guy came up to him, he said, Hey, you stole my content. He put his arm around him, was being real friendly with him, like his black dude, right? He put his arms around him, he's like, you stole my content. He's got his, like, camera, he's, like, looking at him, he's like, you stole my content, man. You know that, right? And he's like, well, yeah, sometimes people make mistakes, and you have to own up to those mistakes, and I apologize, and I'm sorry, and you have to move forward in life and not make those mistakes again, but you have to admit that you made those mistakes and move forward from it. And I was like, the dude at least treated it like, I made a mistake. I'm sorry, you know what I'm saying? Instead of, well, no, what you don't understand is there's a lot of information out there, and sometimes people step on each other's toes and don't even realize it, and, like, didn't try and justify it or explain it off where he did nothing wrong. And that's what bothers me about some people, and that's what rubbed me wrong about the Bill Cooper's admission to falsifying documents, was to make the government think you're a kook and you don't know anything. Well, why not just say, yeah, shouldn't have done that. You know, I really truly believe this, and I feel like I've seen evidence, but I don't have the evidence to actually show people. So I felt like falsifying a document would help those people to believe the shit I already know is true, but it was wrong no matter what. He didn't say that. It's like, I just want people to think, I wanted the government to think I was a kook, and it's like, it makes some stupid people out there completely not care that he falsified some shit, because it's like, yeah, it makes sense though. He had to make the government think he's a kook. Just like how I've tried to at times defend David Icke and say that everything, he's pretty much on top of everything, and he says the lizard people shit to keep himself from getting killed. Yeah. It's like, okay, well that could justify like everything David Icke says is right. Because he says he says the lizard stuff thing to keep himself from getting killed. Because if he didn't say that, everything he says is right, so he would get killed. You know, all the stuff he shares is the truth. And it's like, I don't know if everything David Icke shares is the truth. He's pretty on point with his research and stuff. I know that, but I don't know. The lizard people stuff, a lot of people disagree with, and I can't help but disagree with myself.
I don't know. The only thing that makes me wonder is in the 80s, they had that miniseries V.
Yeah.
I did food shopping today at the Dollar General.
Oh, yeah, there's some sort of a reptilian thing, and I think he's onto something there, but I think
get this.
He's not sure where it leads.
You know what I found there? In the books, in the book rack at the Dollar General today, I found V, the second generation.
No.
So I'm reading that now because I'm like, I have to. If anyone never saw the show or read the books or anything, in V, it was literally lizard people from the Sirius star system who found the ability to camouflage themselves as humans and learned how to speak our language, and they came down and all hell broke loose.
What if the reptilian shapeshifters are the creators of the Anunnaki, who created human beings? So that's why it's so enshrouded in mystery and so unbelievable, because the people, the beings that created us looked similar to us, you know what I'm saying? Looked very similar to us, and maybe a lot taller or something, but were very similar to us. but what about the beings that created them? There would be something if those beings created us, then some of their beliefs would transfer into us, or like transfer into our psyche and shit. And what if that's where the whole reptilian mindset, because going back through history, you see things like that, especially in ancient Egypt type of lore. You'll see reptilian gods and goddesses and stuff like that, and it's like, maybe that kind of stuff has always been kind of mystical to people, but there's something inside of us, and the reptilian part of our brain, the R center of our brain, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
now you sound like David Icke.
No, but that's true. That's actually true. If you listen to like lectures from neurosurgeons and things like that, and brain scientists, basically, I guess you could say, there is actually a reptilian part of your brain. It's called the reptilian part of your brain. It's not actually I think I've heard David Icke describe it as like a reptilian eye inside of your brain, and it's not a reptilian eye inside of your brain. It's a part of your brain that was named the reptilian part of your brain because some of its characteristics are very reminiscent of the I guess you could say personality or the personality traits that are exhibited by most reptilians. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to say cold-bloodedness. It's more their personality, and like a reptilian. If you've ever had a snake or a lizard or something, you watch that thing eat. That thing has no sympathy, has no empathy for anything whatsoever. Yeah. And when you watch other things that are not reptilian, certain mammals, you see empathy and you see sympathy and you see things that remind you of the human soul and the human psyche. So they actually call it the reptilian thing because of the personality traits. I could be fudging all this up, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is your desire to fuck comes from your desire to fuck a hot chick comes from your reptilian shit, because it's your most primal, basic shit. Your desire to want to eat something, and want to eat something like a steak or something like that, something really good.
Or barbecue Pringles.
Your desire to, want to inebriate yourself. That's where that kind of shit. So it's like almost you're just the brain thinking about, it's the part of the brain that just thinks about the brain and the body. And there's no like consciousness and soul and this and that and like love and emotion, and it's like it's very straightforward and strict in the basics, which is kind of how reptilians are or reptiles are, very straightforward with the basics. You don't see much emotion coming out of them. You know what I'm saying? You don't feel much love from them.
That's kind of true, I think. Yeah,
I don't know. It's weird, and that's why I've always kind of thought ever since I heard David Icke talk about it. It's like, are reptiles even like supposed to be part of this planet? I think reptiles maybe were always here and we weren't always here. This is a reptile's true habitat. This ain't our true habitat.
A lot of people believe
that's why when we walk out in the woods, we get ticks dropped on us because we're not natural to this habitat. Mammals and warm-blooded things are not natural to this habitat, maybe.
Well, a lot of people believe man and dinosaur lived at the same time at one point.
Yeah, I can't. I refuse to believe that.
Well, let's give that theory. We take the objective look at everything, right?
Yes, let's be objective, Brian.
Okay, so let's say that happened. What says
You're sounding like the evolution, or not the evolution guy.
What says that man wasn't responsible for the death of the dinosaurs, and the only ones that survived man were these little cute little pets we see in stores, and all the ones down in the along the tropical line of the equator?
Could be, but archaeological evidence proves that that's not the case, and the only argument that some have given for that being that way is because
Did you dig that shit up yourself? Did you go out there and see that archaeological evidence in the ground where it was found?
No.
So how do you know you're being told the truth?
For all I know, none of that even happened. For all I know, dinosaurs are a figment of my imaginations and have never taken a physical form before, because all the figments of my imagination were turned into the history of the world. Because this is all simulation and all my dream, either or. Brian, electric sheep. I dream of electric sheep. Brian, I can't believe you brought fucking Pringles to the show today. If you ever do this again, I'll probably be happy. But I'm going to act like I'm mad at first. These things are just, once you pop.
We've been sitting here munching on these things the whole show.
You can probably hear us. That's my only concern. I don't really care. But you can probably hear like... Yeah, you. You just hear us like crunching chip. All right, we're gonna sit here for the next 10-15 seconds just chewing our chips, so you can get your fill. If anybody's like, I want to hear them pop to top or eat their Pringles. Sorry, no. So join us. If you got some chips, pause it, go get your chips, come back, and join us.
Yes, chips are fun.
I feel like when I try and eat slow, my jaw's like a jackhammer, like it like can't go down just smooth, or can't like close smoothly. It's got to go and like kind of chew as it's going. All right, Brian. This is where my mind has almost changed on Bill Cooper. Almost. I'm not saying it's completely changed, but this is where it goes. This is where I go to a whole nother I got to think about Bill Cooper. I got to do some more research into Bill Cooper to really find out. As of this point, I'm neither for nor against Bill Cooper. Okay? Whereas in the past, I was always for Bill Cooper. Always. And the one thing I will always be for when it comes about Bill Cooper is what his quote basically, don't listen to me. Do your own research. Come to your own conclusions. Don't take what I say as the truth. And that will always resonate with me because that's kind of like how our show is. You know what I'm saying? You can listen to us. You can agree with us. You can disagree with us. But we're not claiming to be right. Anything we do claim to be right about, if you try and say, well, you're wrong about that, okay. Whatever. We may have evidence. It's everybody has a different perspective, and we understand that, And I think he might have understood that, even though he may not have delved into it as much as we like to. I think he understood. Everybody has their own perspective, and some people will take all the research that he feels he had done and he had exposed certain topics, and some people will think it's complete nonsense, and that's just their perspective. You're not going to change their perspective. All right, so listen to this. Bill Cooper popped up, what do you call it, at some point in the late 90s, I believe, either late 90s or 2000, he popped up on Paranet, and he was a frequent poster on Paranet, which is Paranormal Network or Paranormal Net, which was like a message board site back in the late 90s. It may still be around. But look, he was a frequent poster on Paranet, and here's a quote from the Paranet admin, Mike Corbin, regarding Bill Cooper.
Oh.
We, Paranet, had a great deal of experience with Bill Cooper, up to and including his ejection from the net for causing a variety of disruptions, not to mention strong attacks on other members of the net that were counterproductive to intelligent discussion.
Interesting.
Our organization investigated Cooper to the max and found no truth to any of his claims other than he was in the Navy. And the quote is probably a little bit longer than that. I didn't write it all down. That was just the meat and potatoes of it. But that was, and I'm not saying Paranet knows all, and Paranet, when they do research, they come to the rock solid best conclusions that you're going to. I have no idea. I don't even know who Paranet is.
Okay, you want me to play devil's advocate to Mark Schill dice? Here we go. Here's some. If his clearances, if he was as high ranking as he claimed to have been and had the clearances he claimed to have, then they wouldn't be privy to that information to confirm.
Exactly. That's something I thought about. That is the last part of that quote is our organization investigated Cooper to the max and found no truth to any of his claims other than he was in the Navy. Well, what about the claims that he repeated from Anthony Sutton's book? Okay. What about the claims he repeated from that were known to be facts? Okay. What about that? You know what I'm saying? You can't really discredit that. That's trying to discredit all that information. And like I said, that quote does go on, so I believe they addressed that a little tiny bit in the rest of the quote. And do give him a little bit of credit for some of the information he shared, but then they say, well, it's information that was already readily available to many other people or already out there as information. He was just sharing it and trying to say that he discovered it. But the fact that I don't want to say he was a drunk, okay? I'm not saying he was a drunk. But the fact that I've known certain people and I've actually worked with certain people who like to sit down at the end of the day, okay, sit down, have a beer, get on the internet, and fuck with people. Whether that means I don't mean fuck with people not in our modern day troll sense of fucking with people like
that's
just
what
taking
I was
people
thinking.
completely off a track of what they're talking about and this and that. But go onto a message board and basically tell people, well, no, you're wrong. This is why. And when the people are saying, well, no, I think you're wrong, blah, 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 instead of saying, well, no, this is the reason why I'm wrong. Well, when you've been sitting there drinking for a little bit, and that little prick just said something to you, that was, he said, listen, old man, this is actually what the blah, blah, blah. Listen, old man. Well, fuck you, you fucking piece of shit motherfucker, you know what I'm saying? All of a sudden he starts going off in all capital letters, fucking, like, really wanting to, like, insult the dude. That's
you really see
like,
Bill Cooper doing that from the man who does those lectures?
I can see, yes, I can see that because I've listened to probably at least 10 or 15 episodes of Hour of the Time, and yes, I've heard him. Come on, the one that you were just listening to before this, some doofus CNN reporter. He didn't call him. He called him a doofus dickhead or something like that. It was a two-parter.
Jackass,
doofus jackass CNN reporter. So it's not like he's saying he's getting angry like you motherfucker, like blah blah blah. But then all of a sudden, when you find out I don't say the full story, but the story really of why he ended up killed, then you're like, well, hold on. Was there maybe some anger issues with Bill Cooper that kept him from really taking the next step to being that actual hero or that actual legend? Were there some anger issues that he was not really willing to admit to anybody that he actually had? You know what I'm saying? And were those like detrimental to his long-term cause? You know, they were obviously detrimental to his life. You know, if he was more of a calm person, if he was me or you, I don't think he'd be dead right now. If he had our type of personality, I can guarantee at this point, he probably still wouldn't be anybody. He'd probably still be on his local CB radio show or whatever he was doing. You know what I'm saying? But he probably wouldn't. But he'd be alive. I said "but" like 10 times in like
you did
15 seconds. All right, here's the story, Brian. Here's the story according to the Mark Dice Smearfest, and this is the end of the Mark Dice Smearfest. Okay, I know it's been kind of rough because we.
If
both
only Mark
really
were here
like
to say it himself.
But I'll still say it to this day. I kind of do still like. I wouldn't have mind Bill Cooper being my daddy. He'd be a cool ass daddy. I'll tell you what. He may have been a little bit drunk sometimes, a little bit angry, but hey, I've dealt with that already in my life, and it would be pretty cool to have somebody who's like doing their own radio show and like really trying to wake people up. And even if he's not the most 100% honest guy in the world, he's still like really trying. You know, you see all these other dads who are just drinking beer, beating their wives. Like, at least this guy's trying to do something with his life and trying to help the world out a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So, in all reality, in the grand perspective, I say Bill Cooper's still a pretty good guy, even if he was a nut or a drunk. I don't know. I think he was probably more of a nut than a drunk, and people would hate to hear that because then that could open the door to people saying, well, if he was a nut, then everything he said was just like everything he said has no credibility, and you can't listen to anything he says because he was a nut. It's like, what? Some of the smartest people and some of the most awake people I've ever talked to in my life, and it's really sad because it scares you to think like that something else is involved in that happening to him. But some of the craziest people I've found in my life have known more about
believe that
international goings-ons.
I really believe that from his time in Vietnam and all the shit he went through with the Navy and naval intelligence,
PTSD,
and before we diagnosed it as PTSD.
Yeah, and PTSD can take on many mental forms, can take on many haunting mental forms. You know, can I've seen people with PTSD, not personally. Well, maybe actually, no, not personally. See people with PTSD, literally like just very easy to fly off the handle. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't mean they're a bad person, but they've been in a situation where they have to very easily be able to fly off the handle to defend their life and the life of the people around them and their teammates, whatever. All right, look, this is what happened. Deputies pretended to be rowdy teenagers or young men drinking, listening to loud music on or near Bill Cooper's property. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. They were trying to lure him into coming outside so that they could arrest him for the warrants, which he had 2 warrants at the time. Did you know that?
I did not.
Okay. That's what this is according to Mark Dice Smearfest, which I'll look into a little bit more. Maybe we'll have an addendum on next week's show, but not for too long, but definitely to find out if he actually did have these warrants. But the way that Mark Dice was sharing it, or the way that he was talking about it, was, oh, no. Yes, he did actually have these warrants, because in the town newspaper for his town, his neighbor from 2 doors down, who knew Bill, was not friends with him. I think I told you about this guy, right?
Maybe not.
A little bit. But this guy wrote for the town paper and wrote about what happened to Bill Cooper. And in his report, he wrote that the officers came up in order to serve on these warrants, these 2 warrants that Bill Cooper had. He didn't say alleged warrants or supposed warrants. He said the 2 warrants that the officers were up there to serve. And the 2 warrants come back to him going to 2 people, and these are the only 2 people that reported it for fear that he may actually do something, or because they're snitches or whatever the hell you want to call them, right? But somebody pulls a gun on you, I'd probably report them too. I'd probably at least want something done about it, because I don't want them pulling that trigger.
Exactly.
But he pulled a gun on 2 separate people, on 2 separate incidents, went to their homes and pulled a gun on them. Okay? I don't know exactly who these people were. Maybe he felt justified in pulling the gun on those people. But that adds credence to the idea that maybe he was a little bit of a nut. Or the PTSD.
I'm not aware of him doing that.
I remember slightly hearing something about it, but I remember almost hearing that either hearing him himself try and justify it, or somebody else try and justify it as those people were kind of out to get him and making threats on his life, and that's what he felt he needed to do to protect himself and his family, was go and threaten that person back with a gun and say, I'm not fucking around, okay? And I think I even remember hearing him talk on his show a couple times. I remember listening to like the last couple shows he did, and him talking about, I'm not fucking around with these people. Okay, you come to my house with a gun, I'll be ready with a gun myself. Well, if he's talking like that, in his mind he might have thought it's actually a good idea to go threaten this person with a gun and tell them, don't fucking threaten my family. And if that person really wasn't threatening their family, that's what I'm saying. I've known people that are a little bit nutty and think that there's people out there that are out to get them that are not. Local people that are out to get them that are not. Whereas in Bill Cooper's case, local people wouldn't really be out to get him as much as people on a larger scale.
Yeah.
People in larger organizations. You know what I'm saying? Whereas usually they'll let you go, like somebody like Alex Jones, for example, they'll let you go for a while and talk about really what you want to talk about, as long as you don't really take it to them. As long as you don't start showing up at their doorstep. They'll let you go, because they'll always be able to say you're just some nut who doesn't know what you're talking about, you know? Especially if you're somebody who admitted to fabricating documents, well, that leaves them open the door to say, well, all the documents he tried to expose, he fabricated, you know? So why not just let him live? I almost believe, look, they said that they were trying to lure him into coming outside to arrest him for those warrants. When he came outside, obviously angry, I guess he came and drove up to him in his truck or whatever, and he was obviously angry that they were there, and multiple cops jumped out from hiding and tried to like bum rush his truck. He had his gun on his lap, or like right next to him. He pulled up his gun and shot at one of the cops, and it grazed the cop in the head. They said the cop got shot in the head. Obviously, a cop's going to say he got shot in the head if he got grazed, but it grazed one of the cop's heads, and they took that as he's trying to kill that cop. They took anytime you see a cop's life threatened in front of other cops, all of those cops all immediately say, all right, then we are going to try and kill you. At least 4 out of 5 or 9 out of 10 of those cops are going to try and come after you and kill you. So from him firing at the officer and grazing his head, and in Bill Cooper's mind, he may not have thought it was an officer. He might have thought it was these rowdy teenagers who were involved with the officers or something, and he just grazed the head of one of these rowdy teenagers. And in all reality, it's a cop. All these cops are seeing the undercover cop getting grazed in the head with a bullet, and they're like, we got to kill him. We got to chase him down, and we got to kill him. We have no choice. He tried to kill one of us. He may try and continue to kill one of us if we ever try and come back or anything like that. We have to kill him. That's the only option. Maybe there's something wrong with that mindset with the police, as we're seeing in this day and age, or with what's going on in the past month or so. But
yeah, it's like every day in the past month.
But they were kind of, when you really think of it, they were kind of justified.
I usually do throw you people a 10-second update. This week, as we film, the big story of the week is a military coup in Turkey that may have been a false flag. More on that another time.
And last but not least, Brian, this is my last thought on it before I drop the mic. in my opinion, okay, there's many things I still like about Bill Cooper, but in my opinion, it's completely inexcusable to fabricate documents in order to try and prove what you feel you believe, which you may not have good proof or evidence of. And that's what I've tried to with a few of the different things out there, a few of the different conspiracies that we've touched on, especially in the past 10 or 20 episodes, is sometimes people, in order to make people believe them and to have that little 15 seconds of fame or even that little bit of recognition, will create something that helps their cause. You know what I'm saying? We'll create a fake document or a fake publication or something like that will help their cause. You know what I'm saying? Will help to back up what they're not really sure is true or not, but they've already told everybody is true. So they need something to show that they were right. You know what I'm saying? They can't, like, there's a lot of people who, no matter what happens, cannot admit that they were wrong. So they will do whatever it takes, which includes lying, cheating, fabricating shit, to fucking prove that they were right. And that's what scares me, and I don't want to think that about Bill Cooper, and I'm so happy that he put out that quote that said, don't trust my word. Do your own research. Come to your own conclusions. Because without that, I would be forced to, myself personally, would be forced to sit here and say Bill Cooper was a complete and total hack. But with that quote, I'm going to sit here and say there's good things about Bill Cooper. There's good information that he shared. Maybe he wasn't the discoverer of that information, but still good information nonetheless. You know, I put him up there with David Icke. Just as powerful of information that he put out, just as powerful of a message. Has some things that are definitely questionable about him, but I don't think those things are enough to throw out every single thing that he said and every single thing that he did.
You have to almost wonder. He got barred from Paranet because they said he was bullshitting about everything except being in the Navy.
No, that's not why he got barred from Paranet. He got barred from Paranet for causing a variety of disruptions, and not to mention strong attacks on other members of the net that were counterproductive to intelligent discussion.
Yeah.
So that's like, that kind of drives it home to me that he wasn't a perfect guy. You know what I'm saying? And especially, and no offense to anybody who's religious out there, but especially when you find out how religiously Christian he was. He was a very Christian person. I've found a lot of people who, when they're very strongly Christian or very strongly religious in a certain way, shape, or form, they take on this hypocritical tone of they like what they say. They really care about you. And they really, like, the information that they're sharing is the truth. And, like, that the information is truth. That can't be argued. But then they think that gives them, like, the ability, since they're a good Christian, some sort of complex in their mind gives them the ability to be a complete and total asshole, whack job, nut job, something, you know what I'm saying? Because I've personally witnessed this, and it's like, I don't understand. Like, sometimes the most hypocritical people you'll see is the most religious people you'll see. Because they'll literally, like, cuss somebody out, and they think, like, well, as long as I'll be forgiven by God as long as I pray for forgiveness tonight in my prayer, so that means I can beat my wife tonight. Or, like, you know what I'm saying? Dude, like, they justify doing fucked up things because they think they're a holy person. And, it's not that bad. And, you know, for 99% of the time, I'm a holy person. This one time, this small occasion where I decide to be an asshole, it's okay, but they don't realize that those small occasions take up 50% of their life. So 50% of the time, they're this holy and great person, but the other 50% of the time, they're kind of an asshole.
So you think that's what the case is with, like, priests and Catholic ministers touching little boys?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Like, I can get away with it. I can do it, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, I'm a holy person, so in all reality, me doing this, there's something holy about it. You know, there's not actually anything bad about it. There's actually something holy about it.
You think it's that, or do you think it's me being a holy person? And
are you a holy person, Ryan?
Not really.
I thought you were saying you're a holy person.
No, like, if it's like a priest or the Pope or something. Me being who I am, you know, I can get away with this because the Lord will forgive me. I don't even think
it's I can get away with this. I think it's justified in the head as it's not wrong.
And it's nobody will believe it anyway because I'm the Pope, like, you know?
Almost, yeah. I think that's the kind of the thought they conceal from themselves, but do have. I don't know. So, I'm not on the fence about Bill Cooper. I'm happy to be able to question everything, because there's a lot of people out there who think Bill Cooper, everything he talked about, and yeah, we barely even mentioned, or I barely even mentioned, that as far as we know, he was one of the only people that was able to predict 9/11 months ahead of time, and predict not just something's going to happen, which I'm sure a couple people out there can say that they said, but he predicted that something's going to happen with Osama bin Laden. And I think he even said New York, didn't he? Yeah. So it's like he was on top of it, and that's where his good research and his in-depth research, it proves that you can't just throw out everything that he's researched, you know? But just because he did good research doesn't mean he couldn't have also lied or fabricated some things. Which
a lot of people believe the reason he died that night was because of when he predicted 9/11.
Could be. It was only, 2 months later, so it very well could have been. But
they could have been sitting there saying, now this guy's going to start blowing our spot up like this?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Everyone will remember the 5th of November.
Well, what I'm saying is the reason why they came out to his property, instead of coming out to his property and just sitting out there in a couple cars and like talking to each other, knowing that he'll come out and say, hey guys, what's going on? You're on my property and I need you guys to get on out of here. They did something like, let's go out there and blast some music and act like we're some teenagers drinking, and that'll piss him off. And we know when he gets pissed off, he loses his cool, and he'll bring his gun out and he'll fucking threaten us. They might not expected him to shoot, but they were like, let's see how far he takes us. Whereas if he was a peaceful person, which I guess that's what I'm trying to get to. How peaceful of a person was he? He probably was not as peaceful as a person as a lot of people like to give him credit for being. And that doesn't mean he was a bad person. I'm not saying that. But I don't think he was as peaceful as people like to really give him credit for being. I guess that's my final point.
I see.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I don't think he was a bad guy. Definitely not a bad guy. Just like I said before, wouldn't mind having him as my daddy. I'd be missing him. I'd be going to his gravesite.
I wouldn't mind having a few drinks with him, asking about UFOs.
Yeah. Well, also another thing is anybody who doesn't smoke weed or doesn't like anybody that smokes weed, which I got the impression from Bill Cooper, there's something about you that rubs me the wrong way. Something tells me you're stuck to old ideologies.
I refuse to believe that he was in the military in Vietnam and never smoked weed.
I don't know. He seems like a very straight edge type of guy, and with that mindset of I only drink. I'll smoke a cigar every now and then, but I only drink. And it's like thinking that like I'm a good guy. I don't do anything bad. I don't do any drugs or anything like that. And it's like in all reality, that I only drink thing could have turned him into like kind of a unstable person, especially if he had PTSD. That could have been the thing that kind of pushed him over the edge. Where
very true.
The day he died.
Whenabouts? Do you remember whenabouts we actually started diagnosing people with PTSD?
I would say late 90s, early 2000s. I would say maybe mid 90s. I don't know. You gotta remember, mid 90s to late 90s and even early 2000s, like up until maybe 2002, 2003, we weren't in any major wars where guys were coming back with PTSD. So if somebody came back with PTSD, True. It was like a one-off, like, all right.
Now, people were still talking about Gulf War syndrome.
Exactly. I think that's what PTSD, Gulf War syndrome became PTSD, I think. Or maybe that was the precursor to PTSD, where they have a lot of similarities. I don't know.
No, Gulf War syndrome was where they were testing poison gases on U.S. troops, and it was the side effects of the gas. It was different than PTSD.
Okay. I thought it was the mental thing. Like
I don't think maybe it's both. Maybe they had no idea what the fuck was going on, and they just grouped it all into one category.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know.
I don't know how the VA works.
I think we helped people out on their journey to learn about Bill Cooper today,
yes.
And to make your own decisions. All right? Don't believe what we're sitting here telling you about Bill Cooper, okay? Do your own research. Come to your own conclusions on Bill Cooper, because you might be surprised what you find. You might enjoy what you find, and you might be a huge Bill Cooper fan and realize, like, maybe I need to take a step back and evaluate the things that I just take for granted, you know? So I guess that's going to be it. been a wonderful show. Yes, it has. Yeah. No, I think we really brought it home with that. I think that was a one of our more concise episodes about any one topic. You know, where you're able to really fit it all in your head within the time limit that we allotted. So
that just means we know Bill Cooper well enough that we don't have to sit here fumbling through pages.
Yeah, that's a good thing. That's where our past research comes into play. So you can find us on 3nmpodcast.com, thebestyoutubechannel.com. Find our Facebook page, facebook.com/where we lied to, or facebook.com/3nmpodcast. Please like, please share, please subscribe, all that good stuff. Find me on Facebook. I'm Nick Tesla. Find Brian on everywhere.
Yeah, pretty much everywhere. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube.
He ain't got the Instagrams yet. But
Instagram.
Other than that, I think it's...
I ain't down with that newfangled little kid stuff.
If you bring Pringles next week, I may have to murder you, Brian. And steal your Pringles. But don't bring Pringles next week. They're just too good. Oh, look, now he offers me some.
Let me know when this gets irritating, okay?
Irritating almost at once.